I'm Hanna, I'm an alcoholic. When I first came to AA, they told me to stick with the winners, and Casey was far from it, and so was I. It's a miracle that we made it out alive, but that's what's so cool. It's cool because over the year and a half that I've been coming here, I've been able to see that miracle in a lot of people, not just Casey. Seeing people who come in like me around the same time, just as broken and sick and suffering, and it's been really remarkable to grow with these people. So I'm Hanna, I'm an alcoholic. Hi. I'm nervous. I'm like so nervous because this is my home group, and I've spoken 4 times before, but this is really important to me. I had like these awful dreams that I was speaking last night, and they were so real. I had spiders crawling all over me, and in my dreams, not, really. And so I woke up freaking out. Casey texted me right as I woke up, asked if I was nervous, and he had some really sweet words to say. But then I was filled with a lot of gratitude because this is a big deal for me. This is my second home, and you guys are my family, and to be here right now versus a year and a half ago, when I was like completely broken and I couldn't stop crying and everyone was there to pick me up and walk me through this. This is huge to be standing here right now. And I'm so grateful for all of you. So my sobriety date is February 6th of 2015. I have a sponsor who is amazing, walked me through the steps in the book. And there's no way around that. I'm just going to say that right now. You need to do the steps. I tried my own way. It didn't work out too well, but I'll talk about that later. So I'll just say from the beginning, I was born August 1st, 1996, so I'm almost 20. As Christina would say, I'm the baby. And I was born in Richmond County. When I was 3, my dad left, and Mom and I moved up to Aberdeen. My childhood was not bad, but very bad things happened to me. But I don't think it affected my childhood. Aside from today, I think the innocence of being a child, that was the happiest I was until now. Because I was oblivious to the horrible things going on around me. But Mom and I moved back here. My father's parents actually took a huge part in raising me because my mom had to work a lot of jobs and crazy hours. My mom always found a way to provide for me, and we were very close today. Our relationship was awful when I was drinking, and I am so grateful for this program that has brought me back to my real family as well. And I've been able to have people that I pushed away for so many years accept me back into their life, which is something I thought would never happen. So that's pretty remarkable. So I was living with my mom. My dad's parents took up a huge part in my life to explain that relationship I had with them. They were like my second parents. And something bad happened to them. My grandmother had a daughter, and she has lupus. Well, she had lupus. And so when her daughter was born, she was severely sick, and she died 10 days after. So they were really messed up over that. And every house they moved into, I didn't find this out till later, but it explained a lot. Every house they moved into, they had a room called Angela's room. So when Hanna was born, it was Hannah's room. And I was like their second chance at a daughter. So they were like my second parents, and I was extremely close to them. When I was 5, my grandmother passed away. And that was the first time I ever really remember feeling pain. And I mention that because later on in my life, I didn't know what was going on with my emotions, and I would use the instances that happened with my grandma as an explanation for why I was feeling so hurt over things, but it was actually very negative things that happened in my childhood, which I never talked about until I got sober. After my grandma passed away, my dad got remarried. It was actually around the same time, and my stepmom was very abusive to me. My dad's never had anything to do with me, so if I ever did stay with him on the weekend, which just seemed like it was a little bit more then, he would leave, and then I'd be there with my stepmom. I don't remember a lot of that. My parents found out by the way I was acting and some of the things I would say, but I was very young. And then after my mom found out that she had been abusing me, I had no contact with them for quite some time. After that happened, a family member of mine sexually abused me for years. And the reason I mention that is because I never told anyone until this year, but the trauma from that has been something that's been extremely difficult to deal with in recovery. And I never knew how to deal with it back then, and I would drink. And I mention it because I was sitting in this room, and a man was speaking, and he talked about how that happened to him too. And I thought, if that man can get honest about something so horrible that happened to him, then maybe I can tell someone. And so I finally began to open up about that and just start the healing process. Around that time, my mom got remarried, and my stepdad is amazing. So I've never, I feel like you can't really miss something you never had. I've never had a relationship with my biological father, and it really doesn't bother me. I've never had any anger towards him. I don't even have anger towards my stepmom because I don't remember much of it. So my stepdad filled any hole in my heart that I could have possibly ever had for a father, and he's been amazing. And if it weren't for him, I don't know what my mom would have done, going through everything with me. My mom always said, like, I was a perfect kid. I never threw tantrums. I was quiet. I rarely ever cried, and I definitely made up for that when I was a teenager. But so my stepdad just became a huge part of my life. Growing up, I was affected by alcoholism. And I don't want to call this person an alcoholic because that's none of my business and that's not my story, but I will say I knew what alcohol could do to a person, and I knew that every night she would change and she wasn't who she was supposed to be. And I didn't register until I was a little older, and I heard her yelling with someone, and he said, "You're drunk, you're acting this way because you've been drinking." And that's when it registered that the wine she drinks every night is what's making her completely change. And at an early age, so I understood that. Alcohol can make some people change. There was always alcohol in the house. My dad would drink. I would see family members drink, but no one changed like this person. And so I was a little eerie of what could happen to me if I were to ever do so. I don't remember my first drink. I remember the one that got me drunk, but like I said, there was alcohol in my house. I was a very curious kid. And I would go sip on the hot beer or the wine. There's like that much in there. But the first drink that got me drunk, I remember having a conversation with my father previously saying, you know, you're getting a little older. I guess I wasn't really old enough to be drinking at all, but he had this conversation with me. You might not want to drink. If you do, be really careful because you could have this problem. And I was like, yeah, you know, whatever. It was the 4th of July, and my parents went out and partied, and I was mad. I was like, that's not fair that, you know, you guys are always doing this, so I'm going to do it too. And I went over to my friend's house, and her parents were out partying, and I crawled up on her kitchen counter and found her parents' liquor cabinet, and they had bottles of basically everything, and I thought if I took that much out of every bottle, no one would know I drink anything. So I made this disgusting cocktail, and don't suggest it, I'm sure you've all done it, and I drank that. And on the way I drank this night really like reflected on my entire drinking career, because I was hiding it, and I blacked out, because my friend thought that I had that one drink. And what she didn't realize is I was going back into the kitchen like every 10 minutes to get more. I found her mom's box wine, and I was like, it's on. Your mom's not going to know how much wine I drink out of this box. And so that was my night. It was not eventful. I didn't even get sick, but I don't remember it. I think we watched this movie with Megan Fox. It was like super cheesy. I don't remember it, and then that was just our night. But I was hiding it from the other girls in the house, and that's the thing. I had good friends. Like I had a reputation, and that was important to me back then. My parents were really known in the community, and my mom owns her own business, so especially when things got bad, I did not want anyone to find out about that, because I'd always been raised to present yourself in a certain way and basically fake it, because we had to have the perfect family. I don't know why we were like that, but it seemed like nobody really knew what was going on inside our house, which was pretty awful at times. But, you know, I would go to school and act like everything's okay. And so I didn't want anyone finding out that I was drinking or whatever. So I do remember that night, though, going to the bathroom and looking in the mirror, and my face was like, eh. My eyes are doing this droopy thing. I got one like pointing towards Vass, the other towards Aberdeen. And I looked like that woman who drank that affected me. And I was like, oh God, I have the look. I have the look on my face that she has. I must have whatever sickness she has too. And I knew it. And I said, in that one moment, I'm not going to do this again. But then I went back for another drink and I said, hell yes, I'm doing this again. And it was basically on. Now, I was like 13, okay? I'm not drinking every day at that point, obviously not. But, drinks recurred in between. And during that in-between time, I started noticing something weird. I always felt different, like we all do. But I really felt different, like something was up with me. And it was. When I was a kid, I couldn't concentrate in school. And I started getting like depressed, but I was little, and my parents didn't know what it was. They took me to the doctor, and they're like, she has ADHD. Well, they put me on medicine. It gets worse, having a reverse effect. And you think they would have realized then there's something actually going on if she can't even take this medicine. So when I get into high school, and I'm drinking it in between, and I'm having these crazy mood fluctuations. Like 1 week, I'll go the entire week without sleeping, or I'll just sleep, a little bit to keep me alive. And I'll go crazy, like I'll do crazy stuff. And then the next week I'll be so down and I can't stop crying. And sometimes that would last for a month. And I would be so depressed, but I blame it on things. Like when I was a kid and feeling that way, I was like, my grandma died, which it was completely irrelevant because she died when I was 5, but I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what excuse to make up because there was no reason why I felt this way, but I wanted there to be. But I would just blame it on everything. I'm in school, Dad's deployed, blaming everything. And that's how I was in my addiction. I loved it when people asked me, why do you drink like that? Because it was always that problem. Like, why do you drink like that? Oh, I love that. I love that question because I give you a list of why I am the way I am. I'd love to make up an excuse. I needed it. I needed it at the time. I needed to think that it was everyone else's fault instead of mine. So I was very confused at the time. When you don't sleep for like days at a time, I don't know if y'all have done that, it feels pretty bad. It's the worst feeling. I felt like my organs were shutting down. Like, that's the best way I can describe it. I felt like I was shutting down. So I fell onto drinking very fast. That was my crutch, because one night I decided I'm just going to drink myself to sleep. I have to sleep. I'm just going to drink myself to sleep. That'll do it. And then that wasn't enough, and I mixed other substances with it. So yeah, there are other substances in my story. Alcoholics Anonymous got me sober. I'm not going to talk about that, but that is definitely what brought me here a little bit faster. It brought me to a really deep level really fast. Got sober when I was 18, so there was a lot involved there. So I did it like this. I would binge. So during that week that I'm not sleeping very well, I would drink every night. And it turned into feeling kind of crappy, so I'd drink in the morning too. And so I would go weeks doing that, and then I'd go like through a little bit of a dry spell, and then it would just pick back up. And that went on for years, but it got a lot worse. So I have bipolar disorder, by the way. If you drink when you have any mental illness, it's going to make it a lot worse. And I didn't know that because I wouldn't ask for help. It's another thing about me. I'm surprised I made it here because I don't ask for help ever. I looked at it as a sign of weakness. I remember a lot of times in my childhood, and like when my dad would deploy, I would try to be so tough, and hold it together because I knew that things were going to go so bad at home. It was just a matter of time. Like everything was going to start falling apart. So I would try to act like I'm this tough stuff. I can handle it all, and I put on this mask. And that's been something that I've had to realize I'm doing today, because I will come here when I feel like I'm falling apart, and instead of asking for help, I'll just act like I'm happy and people call me out on it, and I appreciate that. But that's definitely like a behavior that I learned myself, and I've had a really hard time shaking. So that was just how it went for a while. I started feeling worse, and then very quickly my drinking became every day. I don't want to be drunk for too long because you guys obviously know how to get drunk, but I will say some examples of the kind of drinker I was. So I was raised well. You tell the truth, you're nice to other people, treat everyone with respect, you don't steal, you don't cheat. But when I drank, all of that just fled my mind, and I became somebody I wasn't raised to be. I don't want to say it's somebody I'm not, because that's obviously a part of me, and I have to work on that every day to not be that person. Because if I start acting like that, I will become that again, and I don't want that. I lied to everyone because I was trying to just hold up this, I'm a good girl, facade. I would steal from everyone. I loved it when I go over to new people's houses. I go straight to the bathroom and check out the medicine cabinet. I robbed this one girl so many times I started taking her Benadryl to stock up on allergy season. So I just figured there's nothing else to take, so I'll just take this. Yeah. And it was funny sometimes, but sometimes it really wasn't funny what happened. I'm the kind of drinker, of course, I have no limits, but I literally, don't know when to stop. It's never enough. One night, I was at a friend's house, and I gave myself alcohol poisoning, and I knew it. I was getting so sick. I don't remember much of it, but I remember not wanting to be sick in front of her. So I went into her bathroom and locked the door. And I didn't come out for a while, so she was able to unlock the door and get in there. And by the time she got in there, I was on my back, and I was throwing up, and she was able to turn me over in time. That was the kind of drinking. It wasn't fun. You didn't want to drink with me, because I would just wreck things. It would be fun in games until Hannah, almost dies. So it wasn't a game. I used to go out, I used to party, but then things like that would happen, and it just wasn't fun anymore. So I did it at home, alone. And then again, those people, people who normally drink, they have an occasion for it. I remember I tried to, I knew something was up, and so I was like, I'm just going to drink like a normal person. And how do normal people drink? They drink on a special occasion. So now I'm only going to drink on a special occasion. So it turned into weekends, and then I was like, but I can celebrate. So I would celebrate things, stupid things, I made a B on my test. It's Tuesday. I got a new outfit. Anything I could find an excuse to drink for. And then it didn't last long. I always tried different strategies to feel normal. And I'm obviously not good at it because we're not normal. So when I was 17, I went on another binge because I stopped sleeping again. I went 10 days, only enough sleep to keep me alive. And I was hiding it from my mom. And I don't know what happened that day. I just went missing at school, and they found me walking up the street, far away from the school. I was coming from Cameron. I went to school at Union Pines, and I was walking the street smoking a pack of cigarettes. Officer pulls over. What are you doing? I said, I don't know. I don't know where I am. I had a psychotic break. Because I was unmedicated and I was drinking and using other substances nonstop, and it just pushed me over the limit. So I took my first trip to the psych ward, and I remember my mom crying and telling me they were in the hospital, and she's like, it's never gonna happen again. You're never gonna have to come back to this place. I promise you, we're not gonna let this happen again. Because that's the worst thing in the world. The perfect daughter is in a psych ward. That couldn't get out. Nobody could know. I had the flu for a week. I kept getting the flu because I actually kept North Carolina psych wards up and running. That was not the last time I went. I went 7 more times. But we tried. You tried to keep me out of it. It just didn't work that way. I remember when I was in there, too, they're asking me questions, but I'm a minor. And I knew they were going to tell my mom that if I said I drank and did illegal substances. So they're like, you do anything? Oh, no, I'm fine. I just don't feel good. I just need to stay here for a minute. And I lied my way out of that place. I got to stay a few less days because literally the second I got in there, I was like, I feel great. This is awesome. I'm so grateful to be here. I said that. I'm so grateful to be here. I feel so much better already. And they're like, really? And I remember I got in the room with my roommate, and she's like, hey, do you do drugs? I was like, no. She's like, well, if you do, don't tell them because they'll tell your parents and they'll make you go to drug classes. Like, oh no. So yeah, I lied my way out of there. I got out real fast. And while I'm in there though, I'm like, here, they diagnosed me bipolar at that time. And I was like, this is a really good time to stop drinking. And as they said, just in case you do drink, you can't drink on your medicine because that could really hurt you. I was like, oh, this is awesome. When I get out of here, no one's going to know what's in here. And my life is going to be awesome. I'm going to take these antidepressants, and we're going to be rolling. It's going to be great. And I get out of there. It's like 3 days later. I'm like, oh, God. No, it was actually the next day. I threw a Halloween party. It didn't last long. So when I got out of there, everything changed. Because I guess that was the first time I really tried to stop. And, they say, when you try to stop and then you go back, it's so much worse. And that's exactly what happened. I did things I said I'd never do. I did things I never said I would never do because I never thought I'd be in the position where I'd had to do them. I became somebody I hated. I absolutely hated myself. When I drank, I would hurt people. You could not walk in my life untouched when I was drinking because I would find a way to ruin yours somehow. And that's just the truth. I'm not downing myself. I just messed everything up. I was so selfish. The thing was, I wasn't selfish about myself. I didn't like me. I was selfish about my drinking. I'm not going to stand in the way of my drinking. And all the hurtful things I did to people, all the horrible situations I drug people into, and the dangerous ones, it was because they were just there. And I had to do what I had to do. And definitely had a lot of amends to make. I remember, this is just how I was, though. I was with somebody, and he OD'd. And I'm really ashamed of this, but I'm just saying, this is where my alcoholism took me. He OD'd in front of me, and I was holding him. I didn't know what to do with him, and I kept shaking him. I had no idea. I'd never had anyone do this in front of me. And I'm driving him everywhere, trying to get him water and wake up, and he woke up. And I was like, I'm taking you to the hospital. And he said, no, we're going to get in trouble, we're going to get caught. And I was like, you're right. I can't get caught, because if I get caught, I have to get help. I have to stop drinking like this. So I dumped him off with someone. And in that moment, I didn't care about him. I cared about me and my drinking, and he could have died. And I didn't care. I just wanted him out of my way, out of my hands. And things like that happened a lot. It got really bad. Things hit the fan fast. And I was really young, and I was a pretty girl. And that's no life for anybody. Active addiction is no life for anybody. I wouldn't wish things to happen to me on my worst enemy. But I got into a lot of bad situations and dangerous ones, and I couldn't find my way out of it. And everything that I ran from in my childhood with the abuse all came flooding back. And I became an object, and I was nothing, and I was worthless, and I was dirty and broken, and that's how I saw myself. And when those things happened, I didn't know what to do with myself. I was out of control. I didn't know how to live with it. It was hard. It's still hard. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, things happen to me that I can't unsee. But that's what's so amazing about being sober is for the first time I get to deal with that, I get to feel that pain. And then all I cared about was numbing it. I just pushed it back. So yeah, my drinking was every day. I was doing things that weren't normal, but I didn't want to admit it. And, walking the streets barefoot and barely dressed at 3 a.m. to go get a drink of my choice is not normal, but that was my routine. I woke up, drank, went through the day drinking, drank before I went to bed, woke up in the middle of the night sweating and drank again. And that was just my life. That was my routine, and that was all I cared about. I started noticing when I wasn't drinking and doing other things, I started getting sick. And I thought, for some weird reason, I just get sick all the time. And then it registered what was really going on. But that's how I was. I lied to myself. And, people started to catch on. My parents would. I remember one night, I was withdrawing. And my mom saw me, almost pass out. And I was, laying out down on the couch. And I wake up to her and my dad, hovered over me. We're drug testing you, have you been drinking? Are you doing this? And I lied my way out of that. And my parents, they knew what was going on, but I was so manipulative. I started crying. How could you think of me that way? I'm such a good daughter. And my heart was pounding. I was like, it's over. My mom said, if I find out you've been doing any of this, I'm taking you straight to rehab. Not rehab. That would be just like the other side words I've been to. I was so scared of getting help because I just had this awful taste in my mouth of what help was. I didn't want any of it. And in case none of you have been to an adolescent psych ward, it's not a good place to go. It's just not a good structure there. I hope that the state funds them a little bit more so it can be half nice, but I was scared. So I lied my way out of that. My friends caught on. I remember my friends staged an intervention with me. It's like so sad. We're in high school and they're like trying to figure out how to do this stuff. I swore to them, you're right, it's getting a little too far, but I promise I'm not going to do this anymore. And the disappointment on their face when they catch me, But I did lie. I lied my way out of it all until it just went way too far. And so by the end of it, I was in the loneliest place I'd ever been in my life. I couldn't control anything around me. I lost everyone, No one wanted to be around me anymore. And I don't blame them. I wouldn't want to be around me either. I was a liability. I was destructive. I was half dangerous. But I felt so alone. And I know why. It's because in that time, I had no understanding of what a higher power was. And a little bit into the program, I didn't. And when I found that love, and that God was loving and all-knowing, and He forgave me. And when I came to understand that was a huge game changer. And when I felt that, I was like, this is the coolest thing ever. I don't feel alone anymore for the first time. And you know what? It didn't matter who did love me. If everyone stood by my side during that time, it didn't matter because I was alone, because I didn't have God. And that's the only thing, for me, that's all that can help me through this. That's the foundation of this program. And there was no way around it. And in that time, it was so dark and I was so scared. And I remember, I didn't have faith in a higher power, but I said, if there was one, would you just please take my breath away? Because I don't want to live anymore. I hated myself. I hated what had happened to me. And I didn't know how to control any of it because I'm an alcoholic. So I know one last binge. I say binge, but really my whole last few years was one. But this one was just a little bit more hardcore. Went to the beach with my sister. It was senior beach week, but I basically just isolated myself the whole time. And when I got home, I felt numb. And my mom could tell that I had been doing a little extra drinking just by how sick I looked. And I remember going outside and thinking, something has to change, I can't keep living this way anymore. And I kept pondering on that thought, and I thought of my options. My mom had threatened me with options. She threatened me with going to treatment or locking me back up, another psych ward. But none of it sounded very appealing. I didn't know about AA, by the way. I had no idea. So I thought I had none, but that's something I had to change. So that night, my parents left, and my parents used to keep our medicine locked up because of my previous wacko experiences. So just on the safe side, they would keep the medicine locked up. But for some reason, my mom had left it wide open, the safe, and I thought, it is my lucky day. So I took everything in sight and in attempts to end my life. And I remember I wrote a note, and I sat on my bed and I looked in the mirror at myself, and I know this is so screwed up, but I was relieved. I was like, it's just a matter of time and I'll be out of my pain. I mean, I know that's bad, but that's how I felt. I can't express to you guys how horrible I felt. I know you know that pain. And I sat there relieved. It's almost over. It's almost over. My mom found me. And that was the worst night of my life. Because I lived and because I remember my mom with her fist down my throat, screaming, call 911. I remember getting to the hospital, and I was out of it. I woke up a few days later in ICU. My dad had showed up. My biological father had showed up at that time. I don't remember him. All my family came. Now it was out. Now it was too much to hide. Everyone knew Hannah has a problem. My friends actually, I scared them to death, and I feel horrible for that. They came over and saw everything, the empty pill bottles, and they went straight to the hospital. So at this point, my secret's out. I mean, the word spread, and everyone's in this hospital. I was humiliated. I wake up, but and there was a nurse hanging over me, and I said, drug tested me, and she said, have you thought about going to AA? And I was like, what is that? And she explained it to me. And I gave it some thought. I was like, well, maybe that's something to do, but listen, sis, I don't think there's much of an option for me. You know, I'm worse than everybody, of course. So the doctor, okay, I was 17 when this happened, and when you do something that's harmful to yourself, like such as attempting suicide, when you're a minor, you no longer belong to your parents anymore, you belong to the state. So these police officers come in, I'm like, oh hell. And they're telling me, you know, the doctor has to decide what happens to you. Your parents have no say-so. And that scared me. I was like, oh my God, you're going to send me back to some other crappy place. But the doctor told my parents, he said, it's not that she's just depressed. You know, she has a substance abuse problem. And I think that if she gets a grip on that, she will feel a lot better. So they corresponded, and my parents convinced him to let me go to this nice treatment center in Tennessee. And it was dual diagnosis, so they could medicate me, which, by the way, is not the reason I drank, okay? That was just something to assist me along the way. It's just something I have. It's an awful mental illness, which is extremely working in my favor now because I've gotten everything straightened out. But that's not why I drink, okay? But it was good. I could get a grip on that and then focus on what was really going on, which is my drinking, and get help for it. So, you know, I wake up in ICU. I'm in the worst pain I've ever been in my life. And I tell the nurse, I said, you know, why does my body hurt? Like, I felt like it was falling apart. I told the doctor, I said, if you just take my skin off, that would be really cool. I could barely move. And my nurse was like, you're going through withdrawal. You know, you have a problem. And I was like, oh, wow, that's crazy. You know, you never would have thought. So as soon as I was able to be discharged from the hospital, my parents take me up to Tennessee. That was the worst road trip of my life. I was so sick. It was awful. I get there, I stayed there for 3 months, and let me explain this to you. So it was really, really one of those fancy treatment centers. You know that Malibu place where the guy's like, I would know, I was an addict, but I'm not anymore. Like fancy like that. You know, they give me foot massages. The walls were all this pretty purple, and I had Pottery Barn like bedroom set. It was really nice. So that's where I stayed for 3 months, and I was so happy to be there. You guys, I felt safe. Yeah, I was out of the state, and I didn't have to contact anybody. I didn't have to talk to anybody. It was really good to be there and to actually just think about what's going on in my life and focus on that. So I stayed there, and the first month I barely remember. I was just so distraught. But while I was there, I went to my first AA meeting, and I cried all the way home because when I got there, everyone was really happy, and I didn't understand that. I didn't think I could have that. I was so disappointed. I know it sounds bad, but I just really had no faith in myself or this program. But I wanted it. I really wanted what these people had, and yeah, I got depressed about it. But obviously, I came back, and that was what was so great, is being in another state and then just seeing like these happy people who were doing really good, and they're telling me I was where you were at, you know, and I believe that. So when I came home, the first AA meeting I came to was here, and this is a lot bigger than the meeting I went to in Tennessee. I was blown away. I was really encouraged actually to see so many people here, to think that my small town had this great of a recovery community. And I remember coming home and telling my mom, the Wilder building is amazing. It has so many people. Mom, the whole building is like dedicated to AA. Like this whole building. It was awesome. So I came back, but I'm sure a lot of you remember what I was like when I first came here. Some people like to tell me. I would sit in the back of the room so that every 10 minutes I could just sneak out and smoke. And just sit alone. I was isolating. I wasn't very good at communicating. It's like I forgot how to speak correctly for like the first year I was struggling. It was pretty awful. I mean, and embarrassing to look back on. I thought, I don't really need that. These 12 steps are probably not for me, but I will try it my own way. I'm just going to show up at meetings. We'll see how that goes. And it didn't go. It didn't go that well. I don't suggest it. I started grasping at every straw other than this. Like the most simple thing, you know. There is no easier software, by the way. I tried it. It's not there. And I was like, okay, I loved rehab, so I'm gonna go to a halfway house. So I moved into the Bethany house. I was like, there we go. I thought if I stayed there, I would stay sober, because I was feeling it. I was feeling myself lose my grip. Like, this is about to go down. This is about to be bad. So I moved in there, and I was there for a month for the first time. But listen, we would have meditation. And after we would meditate, we would go around and say what we were grateful for. And every woman there would say, I am grateful that I don't feel the need to take a drink today. And I got so mad. I was really jealous. I was like, I do. Why? And I couldn't really understand why, even though it was right in my face. I got really mad when I saw the people who first came into Alcoholics Anonymous around the same time that I did in this building, doing really good, feeling awesome. They tell me I feel awesome. I believed them. I saw it on their face, but I didn't. I didn't understand. I was really angry at this point. Like, why isn't it working for me? And it's because I wasn't working it. So one day, I went on a walk in Southern Pines, and just like that, I didn't even think about it. The drink of my choice was in my hands, and it all just slipped away. And I remember when the director of the halfway house, figured out what was going on with me, that I wasn't sick with the stomach virus. She was talking to me about it, and I was like, how did this happen to me? Like, what did I do? How would this happen to me? And she said something that stuck with me. She asked me, did you ask God to keep you sober today? And I was like, no. And she said, well, I've never drank on a day that I asked God to keep me sober. I didn't realize it was that simple. And I tell you what, it's true. I haven't. I knew that I had to work on a relationship with God. That was my priority. And that night, this woman asked me, don't do anything stupid. And I said I won't. And it was really cool. For the first time, I didn't want to take like a really destructive, easy way out. Like, I didn't want to do anything harmful to myself. I really wanted this. I wanted to go back. I wanted to get this together. And it did. And I went back in for a little while. I got a sponsor. My sponsor's phenomenal. I mean, she's there for me, like, whenever I need her. The first few months of my sobriety were really stressful, and I would call her crying, and she would drop everything and be there and pick me up, and we'd read the book, and it was awesome. But at that point, I realized, okay, I just have to try this. I have to try AA. And that was the best decision I've ever made, because everything started falling into place. And then it just seemed like, I started working on a relationship with God. I started praying, God, I want to get to know you. I want to have a relationship with you. And I don't know, I guess it wasn't instant, but it just seemed like one day I realized I don't have that obsession to drink anymore. And I was so happy that for the first time since I started drinking, I didn't want to pull my hair out over this horrible obsession, because I had never had that before. That was enough for me. That proved to me that not only does Alcoholics Anonymous work, but there is a God, and He's loving and understanding and forgiving, and He's working in my life. And for me, major relief was in the steps. I knew that. People had told me that. I told my sponsor I need to start this immediately, and I did. For me, step one, when I first came in here and I read the steps on the wall, I was like, I thought that's kind of funky, how you want me to admit I'm powerless, but I'm like super hardcore girl, but I'm not. And I didn't understand how, like, powerlessness, I mean, it's not like a negative part of your character, but we're alcoholics and you are powerless over alcohol. And once I was able to grasp and understand that, I was like, yeah, you're right. And then step 2 and 3, I was a little slow moving through this with my sponsor, because I told her, I'm working on this relationship with the higher power and trying to have a better understanding. And she was extremely patient with me. And after that, everything went a lot smoother. I will say the first year in my recovery, it was easy, honestly. But then in the past 6 months, it hasn't been. That doesn't mean I'm not grateful. I ask God every day to humble me and make me grateful, because I don't want to ever forget how fortunate I am for this community and for this program, because sometimes things are really hard for me to deal with. But what's just been going on is, for that first year, everything was hunky-dory. But then the trauma from my childhood and my addiction is there, and I can't forget it. And it's not okay. And I can't get over it, and I won't. And people have told me to get over it. It's just not going to happen. But I can push through it. I don't have to live in pain and fear anymore, which I don't. I can find some way to forgive, but this doesn't take away what happened to me. And it's been really difficult, and I've been struggling with that. And I've finally been able to open up and tell people, hey, it hurts, something's not right, I need help. And that's really cool for me to be able to take that mask off in here, which is, it's not a hard place to, open up and just be like, hey, I'm not feeling hot, I'm in trouble, When I get down like that, and when I stop doing the right thing, I'm in trouble. This is serious to me, because this is life and death for me. The way I drink, I don't get to play around with this disease. It's cunning, baffling, and powerful. And I learned that the hard way, and I don't want to lose my focus in this program, because I've gotten a taste of how awesome life can be, I don't want to go back. I take that pain, and I keep it, I hold on to that. I don't want to forget how it was. I want that to stay fresh in my brain. I want to be grateful that I'm here. And I don't even ever want to forget this gift of this program. So I had to revisit my 4th and 5th step. I did that, and when these things started coming back up for me that were painful, I knew that something went wrong, that I wasn't thorough enough. I went back, and some people feel like instant relief. No, I didn't. But I definitely felt like some weight lifted off my chest and my shoulders, and it's gotten better ever since. And moving through, making amends with people, that was difficult. I would get anxious. I didn't know what they were going to say. But what's great is, because of this program, not only have I gained an amazing family, but I got my own family back too. And my friends from the past have seen the new life that I've built for myself, and they want to be in that, and that's pretty cool. I've been so blessed. No matter how difficult certain things can get, I'm very blessed. But that's the cool thing, is that today I can cry over pain or joy. I don't have to numb it, and I'm very grateful for those tears, because for so long I was just numb. And I'm grateful that I get to feel that, because I get to feel it with y'all, and I get to have people there for me, and I'm not alone. And if you don't pick up the phone, I can just talk to the God. So, life since I've gotten here has just been a complete 180 from the way it used to be, from just the constant running, trying to get out of trouble, and trying to survive, to actually living. And I am so blessed. And I was thinking, I was that kid that other parents didn't want their kids hanging out with. And I'm sure some of you people were that kid too. But what's awesome is you can throw a bunch of rebels in the same room as God, and we can all somehow make each other better. And that is what's so amazing about this program, and that you all have been there for me when I didn't have family that wanted to be a part of my life, or friends. And that's why, every holiday I'll have, my dinner or my lunch with my family, but I'm here to be with all of you. And I want to thank you to the people who have been here all this time, because you're the ones who walked me through that pain. And for the newcomers, because you're why I keep coming back. And that's what's so great about being in this program, though, is building this relationship with all of you. And I used to think it would be so hard to get sober in my hometown, but I'm actually so blessed to have gotten clean and sober in Moore County, and to have what an awesome recovery community and just all of you. And I'm very grateful for this program and everything that has happened for me. I remember when I'd read the promises, I didn't understand it at first, a lot of big words, and then I started to understand. I didn't think it could be for me. I didn't think that could actually be a promise, that it would come true. And I went back and read it one day, and it was just remarkable to see how that it is, and where my life has gone in such a short amount of time. And I'm so excited, I'm so excited about how I've changed. And for me, I just want to say the biggest part for my sobriety is service work. That's what keeps me going, keeps me feeling good. And I've been blessed enough to have, sponsees and have one-on-one time with women and to go into detox. And I always feel so great when I have somebody like maybe in detox come up to me later, at the darkest part of their life, where I once was, and to say, I related to what you said, I relate to your story. And that feels really good to know that I can help at least one person sometimes, and that's all I want. So thanks, you guys. I love all of you. I'm really happy to be here.